I'm Allison, and this is my dog, and we live in a tiny house, in an even tinier trailer, traveling the country, taking hikes, and today, I have to apologize for sounding a bit like a gremlin. I've been really sick with a cold, but I've also been sitting on a ton of videos for way too long, and it's time to just get her done, you know? But anyway, we're headed to Port Townsend, Washington, where I'm going to show you a place I've been visiting since I was just a tiny little adventure machine in training. A place with a history as fascinating as its old military forts are.
Spooky.
Today we're waking up having traveled back in time a little. We're in the officers' quarters at Fort Worden State Park. From 1902 through 1953, Fort Warden was an active U.S. military base constructed to protect the United States from invasion through the Salish Sea. But more on that later. There are some dog-friendly accommodations at the fort, and not a whole lot has been changed since it was designated as a historic landmark back in 1976. There are a lot of places to stay at the fort, though, from duplexes like this to huge dorms and even a castle. You might also want to snag a campsite at the beach down below, where you'll also find the Point Wilson Lighthouse. The lighthouse is not only still active today, but because of its location, it's one of the most important navigational aids in the Puget Sound. You'll also find an aquarium and an artillery museum at this end of the park, but today we came for a different kind of adventure.
Still feel like a kid every time I come here. I'm so excited to explore. Even though I've been here 100 times, it doesn't get old.
On the hill overlooking all of this history is what used to be the real purpose of Fort Worden. Only empty concrete bunkers remain of what was one of 3 points once known as the Triangle of Fire. These peaceful hills were once fortified with enough artillery to blast an entire invading fleet back to the Pacific Ocean. You can also still visit the other 2 forts in the so-called Triangle of Fire, Fort Casey and Fort Flagler, but Fort Worden is still my favorite. The higher you climb this hill, the more interesting the ruins become. There used to be up to 41 guns the size of small buildings mounted to concrete bunkers just like this one. And what if the enemy invades in the dark, you ask? Well, they had a solution for that too. A huge spotlight that could light up the entire sound. There are lots of little nooks and crannies to explore around the outside of the bunkers, although they're definitely not up to code, and you need to watch your feet.
A little claustrophobic down here. Oh, look. They left the door open for us. Oh, that's so much better, huh? Let's try another one. We're gonna keep this handy for later.
And this, my friends, is the real reason I keep coming back to Fort Worden. It's really fun to explore all the creepy hallways and empty rooms just sitting out in the open, waiting for you to start up a killer game of hide and seek. Although Fort Worden was mostly deconstructed and stripped of its weapons well before the end of World War II, the history of Washington's military fortifications in the Puget Sound lived on. For example, paranoid that the Boeing factory not too far away as the crow flies would become an enemy target while it was manufacturing B-17 bombers for World War II, the factory was camouflaged throughout the war by a fake neighborhood made almost entirely of burlap and chicken wire.
Spooky.
Funny as that is, if you live in this area, you know our fortifications today aren't anything to laugh at. No. Washington is populated with well over 100,000 active and reserve military personnel to this day, mostly manning bases up and down our west coast, places where we keep some of our most advanced aircraft, to where we store nuclear warheads, and an invasion here today is unthinkable. Invaders in the early 1900s would have gotten a rather warm greeting from the Triangle of Fire by comparison to today. Anyway, it's also fun to explore this place because the story of Fort Worden has a happy ending. There's never been an attempted invasion of the Pacific Northwest, and at no time in its history has the Triangle of Fire ever exchanged hostile fire.
Good job.
Unless you count water balloon fights in the summer, the occasional bat dwelling in the bunkers that startle tourists, or some really intense games of tag. I will never tire of taking everyone I know here, just to watch them turn into giant children when they see this creepy concrete playground in the hills. I loved it as a kid, and I still love it as an adult. Fort Worden is open year-round, and the trail around the ruins is open from dawn to dusk. And I can personally attest that it is not nearly as much fun as you think it might be after dusk. And as I said, this place is not up to modern building codes, so bring your wits with you and maybe a couple of flashlights.